Biblical themes have been used throughout the history of Western art, especially painters from the Renaissance era to the Baroque era have been asked from the churches to do paintings with biblical themes. Since painting an artwork with these themes not only allowed the painters to receive a financial support, but also drew the attention of the viewers at the time, a number of artists had chosen these themes. For this reason, paintings from biblical themes need to be addressed by the name of the artwork as well as the name of the artist, because different artists had occasionally painted the same theme. The calling of the saints Peter and Andrew is the case. This theme was selected by different artists from different centuries. Two of the artists were Domenico Ghirlandaio and Caravaggio. We'll closely analyze each of the paintings from them and find the similarities and differences between these paintings. This fresco was painted by Domenico Ghirlandaio, an Italian Renaissance artist, and the painting is from the cycle of the life of Christ in the Sistine Chapel located in the third compartment on the north wall. One of the biggest differences between Italian Renaissance style and Italian Baroque style paintings would be the landscape. The naturalistic landscape adds the sense of reality. The scene is seen to take place around the Sea of Galilee because Peter and Andrew were fishermen there before they were called by Christ. As the title says, the painting does illustrate the calling of Peter and Andrew, but according to the book Domenico Ghirlandaio, Artist and Artisan, it portrays the recruitment of James and John at the same time. These two incidents occupy in the middle ground. On the left, Christ calls the fishermen Peter and Andrew from their boat as they cast their nets. On the right, though, is the immediately subsequent instant in which Christ, seeing James and John fishing with their father Zebedee. In the foreground, Ghirlandaio again depicts Peter and Andrew, now dressed in robes, kneeling before Christ. Portraying the three incidents in one painting is another significant difference from the Baroque-style paintings. Looking at the three incidents, the locations of Christ appear to create a triangular composition, which gives a sense of stability. A man wearing the red clothing with a blue robe represents Christ, which we'll see in Caravaggio's Baroque-style painting. The man standing and kneeling closer to the Christ is Peter, wearing a red-yellow robe, and the farther is Andrew. These are also seen in Caravaggio's painting. Halos on the heads of Christ and the disciples represent holiness. Therefore, these characters were distinguished from the crowd. Another component that has distinguished the main characters from the crowd is the spacing. While the people in the crowd are tightly close to each other, looking at the middle of the painting, the three main characters are farther apart from each other. Caravaggio was an Italian Baroque artist, while the Renaissance-style painting by Ghirlandaio showed a big landscape at the background with a multiple of incidents in one painting. Caravaggio's Baroque style is expressed by the use of light to create highlights and shadows. According to the journal article titled Caravaggio's Technique, The Taking of Christ, his working practice in narrative paintings can be characterized by a combination of realism from life models, immersed in a dark but not black empty background and a carefully planned composition. Although this painting is relatively darker than the previous painting of Ghirlandaio, the use of yellow-toned light gives warmth to Caravaggio's. A few similarities to point out are Christ wearing a red clothing with a blue robe and Peter wearing a yellow robe. However, there are more dissimilarities. First of all, a young Christ is unusually shown without a beard. He gestures out of the painting in the direction in which he's moving, while turning back to the two brothers. The two are walking with Christ instead of kneeling down in front of him. In addition, instead of drawing a landscape of the Sea of Galilee, Peter holding two fish skewered on sticks is depicted to show that the two were fishermen before being called by Christ. This painting looks more like a snapshot compared to the Ghirlandaio's. This snapshot-like painting seems to show that Peter and Andrew are walking with Christ, having a conversation. Peter's open hand seems to ask Christ where he will be going, and Andrew seems to confirm if he is the one that Christ is calling. According to the book titled Caravaggio Reflections and Refractions, the unquestioning submission to Christ's magnetic summons has been applied to Andrew's vocation, perhaps suggesting that "who me" is a realistic response, at least in Caravaggio's everyday conception of religious calling. It is fascinating to see the comparison of two paintings because although the themes are the same, different artists decided which part of the theme they considered as important. It is also interesting because the two painters were from different time periods. Although both of them were Italian, the stylistic difference was significant.